ride, don't ride the white horse. If you wanna ride, don't ride the white horse. White horse, don't ride the white horse. White horse, don't ride the white horse. No, no, no. If you wanna ride, don't ride the white horse. If you wanna ride, don't ride the white horse. If you wanna ride, don't ride the white horse. If you wanna ride, don't ride the white horse. White horse, don't ride the white horse. White horse, don't ride the white horse. No, no, no. If you wanna be rich, you got to be a bitch. I said rich, bitch. If you wanna be rich, you got to be a bitch. Rich, bitch. Rich, you bitch. If you wanna ride, ride the white pony. Ride, ride the white pony. White pony. White pony. Rich, you bitch. If you wanna ride, ride the white pony. Ride, ride the white pony. White pony. White pony.
All right, ride the white pony. Ride the white horse. Taking it all the way back to the 80s, man. That's Laid Back. Go support that. I'm going to leave that in the description. Maybe you haven't heard that in some time. That song was amazing when it came out. I remember it clear as day. Such a good song. And I'm all about the good music, right? Even though this will get a copyright strike, whatever. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome out, fellow decoder around the world, wherever you are. Appreciate each and every one of you for joining in tonight. You could have been anywhere tonight, but or whenever you're watching this, but you decided to hop on and join us here. So welcome to the Decoding family. We're going to talk all things occult tonight. I know you're going to have your questions. Try to keep them tailored to the occult. Anything the occult, which is kind of the whole theme of Decode Your Reality, right? Because it can involve philosophy, theology, tarot, astrology, right? Today's tarot card is the Four of Clubs. This card right here, by the way, right? This is any of the four. If you're a four, you represent foundations. Fours are the foundations. Tied to the dream, right? The letter D comes from Delta or Daleth in Hebrew, which is the dream. And this card right here is tied to that. This is the 17th card in the deck, which is tied to the word angel. The angel wanting to go be part of the dream. And then the opposite of that is that it becomes the identity of a human being. 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses, as it goes down into the whole. And this is what the tarot cards look like. This is going to be part of my lukewarm decoded. This is good and evil right here. To the right is the Four of Wands, the casino, the house always wins. And then you have, to the left, you have the chaos and division and fighting. And where you get your demon from, your little devil, right? Because human beings want to be this. No, I got it right. No, you're wrong. I got it right. Well, I'm going to prove you wrong because you don't have it right and you get this. And now you involve yourself in demon activity. That's the gist of it, man. When you become aware of this code, you realize that these two need each other. Because that's why you have over 10,000 religions, because the first one, people get bored. Like the first one is this. And it's, yay, we just got our first home. It's stable. We got financial security. Everything's groovy, grandy. But then the wheels fall off. The roof starts to leak. Termites come in. You got a termite problem. So when you correlate that to religion, the very first religion, the roof starts to leak. Termites start to come in. People get bored. That's why a lot of you people have 50 pairs of jeans. Like, why do you need 50 pairs? You ladies, I'm just having fun, right? Don't get mad. This is just for fun. This is me being my stand-up comedian. Why do you have 100 pairs of freaking shoes, man? I know why you have them, but do you really need 100 pairs of shoes? All those purses and all that makeup and why do you need all those things? Because it's not enough. I don't have those shoes. I don't have those jeans I don't have, though. I need those jeans. No, you don't need anything. See, this is where this whole reality is based on beta. We're living in beta. And beta is this, folks. It's more of this fighting and division. Not having enough. Not thinking you're going to be enough. Not thinking you're good enough. So how do you become lukewarm? Well, you become in the middle of these two. Where you see that this reality called beta, you're in beta. You're in the bet, alpha bet. You're in the bet. And that's 2. You're in duality. And this is it. When you get good at seeing this, you realize that lukewarm is where it's at. Because there's peace there. It's the eye of the hurricane. These two represent the hurricane. The eye of the hurricane is where your peace is and your bliss. When you can look to the right, you can look to the left. Nah, I think I'm good here. I think I'm really good here. All right, so we got a lot of material to cover. I have a couple things. Let me just pop out the chat here. I got a couple things that I wanted to talk about. I actually was going to come on here tonight, and I was going to talk about Dr. Hillman, Dr. Eamon Hillman, the guy who's Lady Babylon is his YouTube channel, along with Gnostic Informant. I was going to exclusively break down that material. And I'm going to break it down a little bit. I'm going to give you my spin on it, my take, my interpretations, and what I think it means. So we're gonna discuss that. Okay. I got my notes here, right? I got notes, and we're gonna talk about this stuff. So, all things occult. So if you got something that you want to talk about that has to do with the occult, let me know. Okay. Yeah, if you're somebody just mentions, Lisa says, Kimberly, you're a two of spades. Those of you that are twos, man, well, you represent beta. You represent beta. And that's where we're in. And folks, I'll just give you, this is the value of coming on and doing these lives with all of us. You get nuggets that, but this card right here, this is in the tarot, it's the 50. Now, there's two ways to look at the tarot. The tarot card has the Fool twice and the Fool once. So there becomes 77 cards. And if you include the Fool twice, you now have 78 cards. And it's both of those systems. So this card right here, the Two of Swords, becomes card 51 or 52. Now, this card right here, this is lukewarm right here, folks. This is the state you got to reach. See that person right there? They're sitting there. They have the two swords. The swords indicate, obviously many things. Going into battle, playing the game, wielding your sword. But this person right here is completely calm, centered. The blindfold indicates meditation and going within, centered. Holding both swords, which represent the eye of Shalom Ra. I hope you watched that already. The yin and yang. The swords represent yin and yang, but this person's sitting there calm. It's at night. The waters are still, and this person has a blindfold on, indicating that it's here, centered. And this would be in between these two, right? If I put these three cards together, it would be in between those two. So in between the fighting and the happiness, the joy. See, the energy gets harvested by the joy, and the energy gets harvested by the division. But when you sit here and you're still, well, you're lukewarm. And I want you to consider that the blood is the big marker here, right? The blood in the body has a pH of around 7.3 to 7.4. Now, if you go and use the pH scale, which is usually from 1 to 14, that means that the blood is slightly alkaline, slightly love, right? So yeah, you want to be slightly love. That the blood is the marker of them all, right? Your blood can't go too alkaline or too acidic, you'll die. So it remains at that steady 7.3, 7.4, and that's the perfect temperature for water. right? It's not too hot. Like I can't get in the bath. I got to let it cool down. The water's not hot enough. It's like bath water, man. It's perfect. Lukewarm. And this is where you get the distilled aspect. This is where you become distilled. Come on, camera. Jesus. Distilled. Not too hot, not too cold. Just right. Distilled. Right? Distilled water doesn't have any minerals in it. Okay? And the marker for that, the analogy, the example of that is that distilled water, when rain comes down, when it doesn't go through the rocks and the sediment and pick up all the minerals, it remains distilled. So you want to be a distillery. And distillery, I'm talking about doing exorcisms with a lot of these programs that we have, these ideas. And it takes practice. And there's no rush. There's no fear and rushing. And when you shut the outside world off, you're not affected by and reacting towards the things that are going on the world stage. You now are in your own timeline. And you can get centered and you go to that middle path and you can go to that lukewarm. Okay? So just remember, man, like if you shut off the damn mainstream, the Pandora's box, you're free. And what I may mean by that is you're no longer reacting to that box. Because you see, that box, what that thing wants to do is it wants to give you this so you'll search for this. See how clever it is? It's bulletproof. It gives you this so you'll go seek out this. And just like that, you have duality. And you can't have one without the other. Again, the first religion probably looked like that. Now, 10,000 religions looks like this. No, it's my God. No, it's monotheistic. No, it's polytheistic. No, it's this. No, it's that. No, how about, no, everybody's right. And just be like this. Woosah, baby. You ever see Bad Boys 2? I like how Martin Lawrence does the woosah. He's a funny dude. I like that guy. I am a generator in the human design. I am not a projector. And Lisa, my eye prescription is horrible. My contact lens is, I'm a -10 in my left eye and a -9.5 in my right. Yeah. So I don't know what they are in glasses. I got new glasses coming because these are old. So I had to order some new ones because these are like 2019. But I wear my contacts way too much, so I just wear my glasses quite a bit. Yeah, Peggy, I'm talking about human design. I'm a generator. I'm a 2-4 profile generator. And I'm a right angle cross of the Sphinx, I think. I should know that. Tells you how much I look at the human design in that detail. But I know it's the Sphinx. Yeah. All right. So once we get this to over 200 people, I'm going to jump in. I'll give all of you a sneak peek on, well, not even a sneak peek. Maybe I'll do a full decode. To be honest, I'll tell you straight up. I reached out to Dr. Hillman, sent him an email, asked him if he'd come on the podcast. Haven't heard anything back. That's no big deal. I don't take any offense to that. Probably has a lot of people knocking on his doors. But I'm going to give you guys my breakdown of it. Like, most of you know, like I study the Bible like any scholar would, right? I'm not saying I am a scholar, but I study the Bible and I decoded it probably more than any other decoder out there, or at least up there with a lot of the other decoders, right? And that doesn't mean anything other than I'm saying is I study it a lot, right? I study the Bible a lot. I break it down. And it is a script. And, you know, I'm going to show you the numerology of the word scripture. The word scripture comes, you got to study the Greek, man. This is where, you know, Dr. Hillman, like I've been decoding from the Greek, but then when Hillman came on the scene, I was like, when gangbusters into the Greek, I was already doing it. But the New Testament written in Greek, and he claims that the Old Testament was written in Greek as well. I'm not so sure on that. But it doesn't matter because what the code says is that it's a Ponzi scheme. Hebrew is Greek and Greek is Hebrew. It doesn't matter. The same boss that runs both of them owns them both. That's what the code says. But I will tell you that the word scripture in Greek has the same numerology as Zeus in Greek. Same one, 54. Oh yeah, it does. So the largest planet, the biggest Olympian, this is where you're going to get 2024 Paris. We have the Olympic Games coming, right? That's all Olympian. You know, if you're a fan of astrology, 10 out of the 12 celestials are Olympians. The only two that are not is Saturn, who's a Titan, and Uranus, who's a primordial. All the other houses are ruled by, zodiac signs are ruled by Olympians. For a reason. And you get into the mythology and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm looking at your comments. Looking at your comments. Thanks everybody for being here. You know, I had talked about the synchronicities that you could find in your life through the occult, right? The occult meaning hidden, right? So let's just get that. We all know occult means hidden. That's it, right? And the word occult in Chaldean numerology is 26. Just like the word house. House equals 26, which is what this card is tied to. This is the 26 card in the deck, 25, 26. 4 clubs, and today is the 4 of Wands day. Now you would say, oh, you picked it because, no, I didn't. I actually just came back and I had a whim. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go live. Let's talk about the occult. And when I went on there to broadcast it, I looked in 4 clubs and then I chuckled, right? Because I knew it was the 4 of Wands is 26, and I know occult is 26. Source is 26. Yod Vahe equals 26 in Hebrew. Bella B says, I wonder if this channel is part of the field or distraction. I'm not sure what that means. Everything's a distraction. So is this channel a distraction? Yeah. Your life is a distraction. If you came into my life, we became friends, you become a distraction. Because now I have to tend to your friendship, which is a distraction. Right? Takes away from what I need to do in my life, takes away what you need to do in your life. Everything's a distraction in this reality. Yeah, the smoke you're seeing is I have incense burning, which I went down to Playa del Carmen and went to the store that had that kind of stuff, and I got some incense. So Sonia says, is there any reason to meditate? I stopped meditating after a scary out-of-body trip. I mean, I look at signs. The hidden things, right? Like, I look at signs. What is the universe trying to... You could say God, whatever. What is it trying to tell you? Sometimes it saved your ass and you saw it. You're like, wow, if I would have went there, I would have been in this accident. It saved your ass. And you realize it. Right? The universe always is talking to you. God's always talking to you. When you try to force stuff, that's you're going against the fabric. Especially if you're a generator in the human design, the essence of a generator is to create shit, right? But the not self theme is frustration, and you get frustrated as a generator by simply chasing things. So if you're a generator, that's the one thing that you should not be doing, is chasing anything. You got to know when to draw the line and say, that's not for me. But that goes for everybody. I think that we're distinguished by these five types in the human design, but I would even go on to say that we're all 5 at the same time, just like you're all 12 zodiac signs. All of us have a little bit of the projector type in us. All of us are a little bit of a guide to help people, right? You've helped somebody before. They've say, hey, can I ask your opinion? And you help them. That's a projector type. So I think we're all those types, essentially. You're all 12 zodiac signs. People say, Logan, what's your zodiac sign? All 12. Huh? Yeah, dude, if you show you my chart, I have all 12 houses. Why would I be disrespectful and say, I'm not all 12? The true essence of astrology is you are all 12 zodiac signs. Or it is all of you, I should say. Big shout out to the moderators. You got Pam and Steven. Got my Jack and Jill in here. Always coming and got the wrenches. So be nice in here, folks. It's all about, lukewarm in here. It's all about live and let live here. This channel is all about you do you and I'm going to do me. If you don't agree, totally fine. But there's no comments like trying to go after somebody and you're an idiot or you're yada, yada, yada. We don't do that here. I don't see any of that, which I'm appreciative of. But I'm just letting you know. If you're here, this is not a channel to go and try to debate with people. We don't debate here. Debating is a waste of time. It's a waste of your energy. You could be doing a lot more constructive things than debating. All right? Just so you know. Just want to let you know. Okay. Immortal Aaron asked, do I know how old the zodiac is? I don't think anybody knows. So I don't have a date for you. I don't have an age. And if you have one, that is something you've regurgitated because no one knows. That is something you have read somewhere. And I'm not, like I said, I want to be very clear. This is all about live and let live and love here. But what I am very clear on, because I'm all about precision, if you're going to say the astrology wheel or astrology is 2,000 years old, that's something you read somewhere and you've adopted as your truth. That's something you cannot support and prove. You can't prove that, right? So it will be an opinion. So my opinion is, how old is astrology? I have no idea. No clue. But to me, it doesn't matter if it's ancient, if it's 20 years old, 50 years old, it is accurate. So to me, it's a moot point how old it is. That's just how I see it. And again, I don't take anything away from your question or your opinion of what you asked. Utopia asked, do I do human design readings? I am not a practitioner of the craft. I do include them in my readings. I go over the basic fundamentals. I talk about the gates that you have activated. I do have some of the things memorized. I do go in and I look at the gates and the numbers and how they correlate. I've talked about gate number 59, which is the gate of intimacy, connected to gate number 6, and gate number 16, the gate of Sophia, tied to gate 48, which is tied to Prometheus and the well. So I have some of these memorized and we talk about those during the readings, but I don't do them specifically based upon human design, and that's it. I think that I like to be diverse. So just doing human design to me would be doing you a disservice if I were to give you a reading, because there are so many moving parts to your screenplay. All right, we have over 200 people here, so I'm gonna jump in. You guys and gals ready? I'm gonna be the. Now we're gonna go into disruption mode. I'm gonna be the disruptor. Okay, I got the disruptor tour that we're gonna be going on. I hope soon. Going on tour to a city near you, to be continued. The disruption tour. Okay. All right, so let's jump into this, shall we? Let's get a little disruption going on. Here we go. So on my Patreon, and I want to say thank you so very much for everybody that is a member of Patreon. I appreciate all your support. And if you'd like to become a member, I do post stuff on there. You don't have to be a paid member, but if you want the real good, deep, dirty stuff, then you'd have to become a paid member. That's completely up to you. But you're supporting the entire research. Everything I put on YouTube and Patreon, obviously the Patreon members are helping support this mission. But anyway, I had posted this on my Patreon after I had watched the 3+ hour podcast with Danny and Dr. Amen talking about what Dr. Amen's depiction of Jesus was all about, the stories of it. So of course, me being, the scientist that I am, right? Being the deep diver that I am, I don't just take anybody's word for it. So I dig a little bit deep myself. See, what Dr. Hillman has said is he had said that the disciples are children. Now, the challenge on that statement is that there is evidence, clear evidence, that there were disciples that had to have been men, right? Because Matthew, when Jesus was going through the town, he saw Matthew at the tax booth, and he said, "Come with me." And Matthew left and went with him, obviously alluding to the fact he was a tax man. Couldn't have been a tax boy. And then you add the story of Simon Peter, where Jesus healed his mother-in-law. Well, you can't be a child and have a mother-in-law. You'd have to be married. So there are many verses, these are just a few that I'm talking about, that clearly say that the disciples, some of them anyway, were grown men. Of course, the fish story and being fishermen, they could have been kids out on a boat fishing. Yeah, there are kids that do that. But then there's that aspect, right? So that kind of puts a big hole in Dr. Amen's theory that they were children, because clearly the scriptures say otherwise. Right? And you can do the research yourself. Go find out when Matthew joined Jesus and when Jesus healed Simon's mother-in-law. Okay, you can't be a kid and be married at that young age. I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it. But were there children in part of the 12 disciples? Perhaps. I think that's a possibility, right? So this story here is something that is troublesome for the church, because of what the story, and I had never looked at this. You got to go dig into the Greek, but even the conversion of the English, right? It says it all. So this is John chapter 13, starting with verse 4. I have them surrounded in red, squared out in red, and this is Jesus now. And he says, this is after the supper was eaten, the Last Supper. He rises from supper and laid aside his garments, meaning he shed his clothes. I don't know why you would do that. And took a towel and girded himself, meaning he wrapped a towel around himself, like going into a spa. Okay, cool. And then verse 5 says, after he poured the water into a basin and washed the disciples' feet. See, this is where there's a big problem for the church, because it says that he took the towel that was wrapped around him and began to wipe the feet of the disciples. Which means, ladies and gentlemen, that Jesus was completely stark naked doing this. Now, if we're going to use logic and common sense here, okay, when is the last time you've ever heard anybody doing that for people? And on top of that, what in the hell would a grown man be doing? I don't care how loving you are of a person, to get completely naked and dry the feet of your disciples. This doesn't make any sense at all. Zero cents. Now, I know this is about humility, but you don't have to tell a story of humility by someone being naked, especially Jesus of all people. So I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with any of these, because these are stories, but the church has a big problem on its hands because of this. Because there's nothing else to go off of here. Other than they're going to interpret it, oh, it just means humility. Why you got to be a story of a naked man doing humility? Doesn't make any sense. There's something more here, something much more here. Okay, something much more here. And this is where Dr. Amen was talking about the disciples being referenced as little children. And this is John 13, verses 33. And this is Jesus saying little children. Okay, now, when you read this, there's a challenge here for the church, because Jesus is like 33. And if they're grown men, when do you ever see a 33-year-old talking to a grown man, calling him a child? You don't. And there are going to be people say, wow, this was 2,000 years ago. Well, I don't know. You weren't there 2,000 years ago. I wasn't there. So we don't know what the context was, what the environment was. But a 33-year-old guy doesn't call older men kids. And this ain't the first time. This is many times. But again, to cut that in half, there are scriptures that indicate that the disciples were grown men. Now, I'm not even going to use the other big words that they were talking about, but those are to be postulated here. Okay? But this is a big deal. This is a big problem for the church. And then on top of that, in the Garden of Gethsemane, the naked boy fleeing from the scene. That's a big problem for the church, that story. After the Last Supper. And Jesus falling down, of course, Dr. Amen claims that he was bitten by a viper. And that's why he was all discombobulated and falling down. Maybe he was. And he needed an antidote. Maybe that's the case. But you got to start to read this stuff a little bit deeper and more. And in the Greek now, this is English, the conversion, and there's a lot of words that get mistranslated from the Greek into the English. This is I think this is the King James Version, the most popular version of the Bible. Okay? So, I now want to direct your attention to this other big problem that the church is going to have, which I don't even know why it never gets addressed. But of course, why is all this stuff coming to light now? Because you're in a different age. The age of Pisces is seemingly over, which means these stories don't have any basis or merit in the age of Aquarius anymore. So the story has to change. And this scripture, John chapter 13, verses 26, is another big problem for the church. Because this little image here is where Jesus is handing to Judas Iscariot a piece of bread that's dipped in some kind of oil. It's called sop. It doesn't tell you what's in the sop, but it says that when he hands the bread to Judas, after he dips it into the sop, Satan enters into him. Now, of course, Jesus already had told the disciples that one of you will deceive me. So it was already predestined, which common sense and logic, ladies and gentlemen, should tell you that in this story, if it is real, if it really happened, this guy right here did not have a choice And this guy was responsible for his choice. Because Jesus handing him the bread and Satan entering into him, it was part of this. And he tells you, well, the scripture has to be fulfilled. The script has to be fulfilled. So this is a big challenge for the church right here. And another big one, ladies and gentlemen, is this one right here. And again, using common sense and logic here. Now, this is where the disciples are having the Last Supper and they're all sitting around the table or whatever they're doing. And this is where Jesus says, one of you will deceive me, right? But this is such a bizarre scripture verse where a grown man leans back onto Jesus's chest, leans into his breasts. Who does that? Why would you do that? And again, this is just the English. You got to go into the Greek and read it from the Greek. So again, folks, how flirty are we getting here with male on male? What are we doing here? Why are we leaning on, when's the last time you sat around with your fellas and you leaned on your buddy's chest to ask him a question? This stuff doesn't make any sense. So this is the problem that Eamon has and what he's talked about in his information. But it says in that next verse, 26, is Jesus says that whom I shall give a sop meaning bread that's been dipped in something into it, okay? When he gives it to Judas, then Satan enters into him. Which again, folks, alludes to the fact clearly that Jesus was the catalyst for that event to happen. Which means that if you believe this story actually happened, that means that Judas Iscariot did not have a choice at all. Zero. And this is a classic story showing predestination. Classic. And that's a game changer. A game changer. Huge. Okay? A big deal. A big challenge for the church. Especially a church that doesn't preach reincarnation. That doesn't talk about it. That is against it. Because this right here flattens, smashes, completely annihilates anybody going against reincarnation. Because Judas didn't have a choice. Judas did his job. Right? Now, the other big thing that I want to point out that I don't think anybody's ever shown before, and I just caught this making these slides, and that is the actual ritual, where I have made it very clear to my audience that you will never ever catch me doing these rituals, ever. Now, I like the part of Jesus where he's being humble and loving and, going within. And yes, I'm all for that. Absolutely. But I'm not for the rituals and doing the wine and the wafers and the Eucharist and all these outside practices. No thanks. This is Matthew 26, verses 26 and 27. This is where Jesus breaks the bread and gives it to the disciples and tells them to eat. This is my body. I covered this in my Antichrist, and I did the numerology of what it meant. And the 27 is giving the drink, the wine, the blood. Right? Now, the challenge and the humdinger, folks, the hum-freaking-dinger. The humdinger, ladies and gentlemen, is that this scripture right here, John 13, verses 18, where it talks about Jesus saying the scripture has to be fulfilled. It has to be fulfilled. Right? It has this. What does John 13 verses 18 have to do with anything in the Bible? How about this scripture? The same exact verse and chapter, but it's a different book, but it's the 666. Revelation 13 verses 18 is the number of the beast, and John 13 verses 18 talks about the scripture must be fulfilled. I know it uses the word may, but you got to read from the Greek. Is this just a mere coincidence that John and Revelation have in the same chapter and verse? One talks about the beast, and the other one talks about the scripture being fulfilled? Predestination. Absolutely predestination, ladies and gentlemen, if you ask me. So this is the information I wanted to show all of you. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to backtrack, right? When Jesus gives the sop to Judas. Now check this out, folks. You ready to have your mind blown? Did you catch it? John 13 verses 26. Jesus gives Judas the bread with whatever's in on it, and Satan enters into him. This is chapter 13 verses 26 and 27. Did you catch it? This is Matthew 26 and 27. John 26 and 27. Matthew 26 and 27. So this right here is talking about Satan entering into the deceiver Judas by way of Jesus, 26 and verse 27. And then Matthew 26 and verse 27, same exact verses, is talking about eating the body and drinking the wine and the blood. Coincidence? No, folks. It's not a coincidence. This is the source code. This is the script that's playing out. What is 26 and 27? What does that equal? 53. What's 53? Yeshua in Hebrew. Iodine on the periodic table, as in the I am. So John 13 verses 26 and 27 about Satan entering into the body of Judas after Jesus gave him the precursor for it to happen is the same verse that Jesus gives the bread and gives it to the disciples to eat, representing his body, and giving him the wine, the cup that represents his blood. Coincidence? Hell no. And I mean that with all the authority. Hell no. It doesn't. These are so in your face connections. And now you have the eyes to see them. And John and Matthew are two of the four main gospels, which are the four fixed signs of astrology. All right. So I guess we can go bam, right? Because that's what that deserved right there. Those connections to me is what was why, and again, I'm not saying I have a problem, why I don't follow that book. Why I won't pledge to those characters. I don't need a character to pledge to be the person that I am. The giver, I give. And I help. And I guide. And I've literally cut out so much stuff out of my life. I'm a minimalist. I don't even do anything on top of it. Like purifying myself. Trying to get to nirvana. Right? Just because it feels the right thing to do. Without needing anything from anything external. No story. No organization. No book. No prayer. None of that. Now, if that doesn't get you thinking about the occult, if that 26 and 27, where it talks about eating the body and drinking the blood, matching the Judas Iscariot eating the bread and Satan entering into him, if that doesn't kind of get your feathers ruffled, I mean, what is it going to take? That causes this. All right. So that's what I had for you, ladies and gentlemen. I probably could have did a nice drum roll with that one. That one was like a humdinger of humdingers right there. And I found the 26 and 27 connection as I was going along, grabbing the scriptures to show you. I didn't even have them lined up that way until last minute. And I was like, what? That the ritual the church wants you to do has the same verses as the ritual that Jesus had Judas Iscariot, who deceived him, did? Come on, what are the odds? No. No way. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, 26 and 27 is 53. And what is the 53rd card in the tarot? This is tied to Yeshua. Because I'm telling you, that story is about reincarnating your ass back into the beta. Doing those rituals and doing all those passing the bread and praise this and get on your knees and I'm the way, the truth. No. The kingdom, the one thing that is true is that it's inside of it, is nothing external. Nothing. But again, I go back to the foundation is that we're living in a predestined scripted reality, and I'm here to tell you what I found because I'm being used to tell you what I found. I have no credit taking here. This is not me doing it. Some people think I'm deceiving you, and I just gave it to you in the black and white. I mean, I don't know how much more one needs to see. The crazy connections of that, like the freaky 26 and 27 matched up to the Judas Iscariot, matched up to the rituals that the church wants you to do. Nah, come on, man. I mean, it's pretty logical and clear now. Anyways, it's really big. Really big. And I don't know if anybody's ever even brought it out on the world stage. I think, this may be the first time. I don't know. And again, I want to digress. I don't care. It's not about me. This ain't about me. And it's not even me doing it. So don't think that it's like, oh, Logan. No, Logan is not. I'm not doing shit. It ain't me. I didn't find that. It found me. And it uses me as a catalyst to put it out to you. Yeah, I got to sit there with my mouse and create the graphics, of course. Just like when you grab the pen. You think this pen has a choice, folks? You think this pen has a choice when I pick it up and it says, no, I don't want to write today. Too bad. You're writing today. Now you may have to put, remember the lighters, or it clogs up. You don't want to write, you son of a bitch. And you grab the lighter and you heat it up and then you get to write, right? This thing doesn't have a choice. You think you have a choice? You think I have a choice? You think the church has a choice? You think Joel Osteen has a choice? I got a decode coming. I'm going to break down his astrological map. The guy was built to be a preacher. Why are you hating on him? People hating on the dude, man. Why? Because it gives the world this. This is drama, man. The world loves its drama. It's got the word Ra right in it. It's got the Ra and the Ma, the mother. Drama. The world loves it. They want their fix. It's so funny. This reality is hilarious, if you ask me. I just laugh. That whole thing that I just showed you, it's not serious. It's funny to me that I never saw it before. I didn't have the eyes to see it before because I wasn't decoding. You got to be looking at numbers. Scanning the numbers, analyzing the numbers. I didn't even see that until last minute. Just, maybe an hour ago I found that? On today? You're talking about this, today's a 26. It's tied to the 26 card. The word harvest is 26. What do you think gets harvested? Our emotional reactions to the things that's presented to us, the things that are marketed to us. Oh my God, those are being harvested. Or do you get mad? Harvest. Or do you get loving? Oh, well, you saw this and that. Harvest. When you bang out an orgasm, you're being harvested. Can't be any other way. Your orgasm is like when a piston in an engine goes up and the spark plug lights and ignites in the air and the combustion chamber and that thing blows up and the piston comes down. That's your orgasm. That's the Phoenix event, by the way, that Brashears talks about. Is a piston going up to the spark plug and the gas and the air mixes and sprays into the combustion chamber, and that explosion is the Phoenix event. And it pushes that piston back down. And that's breathe in, breathe out. Wax on, wax off. But it does it in a cosmic way. And that creates energy. It's really, there's so much about plutonium in this reality, by the way. Just so you know, plutonium is really where it's at. Which is Shiva the Destroyer. The eye of Shalom Ra. Right? IV Bolt says, the world is not what you think. Of course it's not. It's not what anybody thinks. I totally agree. Semen retention, yeah. There's that thing. Oh, it's a slogan from Bashir's. Got it. The world is not what you think. Yeah, that's a fact. That you could that's a freaking bumper sticker that can be read all the time. Because you're like, oh, I think I figured the world out. The world's not what you think. Ah, damn. Damn, I thought I had it figured out. The world's not what you think. Ah, damn. So funny, this whole reality. Folks, if that what I just showed you, if that doesn't rip things apart, and there's a major, and I don't like saying problem because it's all predestined anyway, but it's a very deep cut for the church. Those things that you really can't dance around and say, well, let's interpret, because I was raised where you always give a rebuttal using the scriptures. Oh, you got to always use those. But I don't know how you're going to give a rebuttal to that. So you got to be a decoder. You can't just be somebody who's a theologian or has got a PhD or is a professor or whatever, and you're studying scripture, like Bart Ehrman, who's a big proponent, who's a great author, who's extremely intelligent. Even somebody like that, I mean, you looking at these verses, 26 and 27, are you combining them with the alchemical elements? Are you taking the tarot and seeing what the picture looks like? Are you seeing the combination and how these match up with the sop that Jesus gives Judas, who is responsible for Satan entering into him, has the same verses as the damn Passover and the bread and the wine? Seriously? Are you even looking at this stuff? Like, mind blown. Mind blown stuff. I mean, Alpha and Omega in Greek, just the letters, is 27. And the wine is verse 27. The blood of Jesus, the Alpha and Omega. The bread and the bread and circus, they should have called it. It's so funny, man. Yeah, Angela, it is very freeing. It's very free when you release yourself from the bondage of what we once thought was real. See, that was the age of Pisces. Pisces was, if you think about the Piscean age, right? It was where technologies just started out, right? So you had the rotary phone, remember that long corded phone on the wall? Remember emergency breakthroughs? I remember growing up you're dating somebody and you can't get a hold of them and you call the operator. I remember doing that and doing an emergency breakthrough so I can talk to my girlfriend because she's got a busy signal on the other end. How far our technology has come. In the age of Pisces, you had horse and buggy. You had the invention of the car. You had the invention of the airplane, the telegraph. These were all advancements. And now you fast forward into the age of Aquarius and it's like light speed now. Julius Q Queen or Queen, do you think we can ever escape this world? Well, yes and no. Half of me thinks you can, and the other half thinks you can't. I'm okay. Folks, I've made my peace with this reality. I'm doing the things that I show and talk about, living a life of neutrality, shutting off the mainstream, not paying attention to it, knowing that when I do watch these things, it's just a movie. It's just a market. It's a machine trying to market to you. And everything goes, and everything inside this machine, that is, whether it's occult or whether it's mainstream, is designed to get your attention. It's like if you take the double slit experiment and you incorporate that into how our reality works, we're playing the light game. Well, in the double slit experiment, light doesn't have a pattern if you don't observe it. It's just light, right? When you pass it through and you now put an observer on it, it makes a defined pattern. It's definition. Well, that's what we do. We have given definitions to the things that light causes. And we do that through buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that. Buy my product, buy my course. It's just so funny. The majority of channels I go on, I go on, I watch a lot of tarot readers. There's a lot of talented tarot readers. And the one thing most of them have in common, when you get on their channels, they're like, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to share my video. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? We all do it. But I'm saying this is the things that people are programmed to do over and over, because it's a machine. Because if it doesn't get you through religion, it's going to get you through tarot. If it's not going to get you through tarot, it's going to get you through sports. If it doesn't get you through sports, it's going to get you through movies. Oh, I don't watch TV. Oh, congratulations. But you got a cell phone. Same thing. If it doesn't get you through, like, oh, I shut off TV. Yeah, I mean, the annoying part of television is the commercials, right? So you stop watching that, great. Well, now you have commercials on YouTube. You watch a lot of YouTube. Now you have commercials before this. Now you have commercials before that. And if you don't have commercials, they're already embedded in the movies and shows you're watching. All the advertisements, subliminally, right in your face, hidden, occult, they're all there. This entire reality is so clever. It's so clever. You know, I was just, I was watching, I turned on The Matrix 4. I think this is the third time that I'm watching it. I paused it. I didn't finish it. Something told me to watch that. So I started watching it. And of course, the story goes that the analyst who was played by, I can't remember his name, Doogie Howard, those I always remember him by, but he was born on June 15th. So he revises the Matrix, right? So I want to backtrack. The very first architect, the architect of the Matrix was a guy named Helmut that they casted. He was born on September 26th, 26, Yod-Heh Vah-Heh, and his birth card is the Jack of Hearts. This card right here is one of the 3 immovable cards. It doesn't move like the other cards do. It's the Jack, the Jesus. And it's the heart representing that I want to go, I love this. I want to go create it. Out of my love, I'm going to go create a new company. Well, the architect created the Matrix. This card sits in space 39. The word computer equals 39. This sits in space 39, and the word computer equals 39. This is card number 11, and the word brain equals 11 in numerology. The word brain equals 11. This is the 11th card. The word computer equals 39. This sits in space number 39. Coincidence? And this is the guy they casted to play the architect in the original Matrix in 1999. Then you fast forward to Matrix 4, and they have the analyst now who's taken over, and his birth card, the 2 of diamonds. Well, now you compare the 2, right? What's this? Jesus. What is this? Lucifer. Why? Because this is the 28th card in the deck, and Lucifer equals 28. So you now have the the dichotomy here, right? You literally have the Jesus Lucifer story here in the Matrix from between 1 and 4. It's all a story, folks. And you know what the code says? This reality is a movie. You're in a dream. This is the dream of the cosmos. It's not even real. I've said this so many times. This reality is not real. It's real, but it's not real. If you know how to figure that out, if you can use the logic, it's real, but it's not real. All right. I mean, folks, the word dream in Chaldean numerology is a 16, okay? And the word hell equals 16. The word light equals 16. The word fire equals 16. And the 16th card in the cards of illumination is the 3 of clubs. And the 3 of clubs in the Alice in Borderland show this is the game master card they showed. Like there's a game master and they put up the 3 of clubs. This is the card of Lucifer. The light. Light is the devil, folks. If you haven't figured that out yet. It's tied to the serpent. Why? Because the serpent makes the sidewinder. Right? It's the wave. The wave. We live in an influx of waves. People say, do you think the earth is flat? Here's my answer. No. I don't think it's flat. I'm not a believer in flat earth. And then your mind will go to, oh, you think it's a globe spinning at 1,000 miles? Nope, that's not it either. So which is it? It's a wave. Earth is a wave, man. Why do you think ocean waves go like this? Why do you think you have hills and valleys? Earth is not flat, folks. It's a wave. Because we are materialism slowed down. Waves get crystallized and they become solid. They become matter. Waves, sound will make waves. Color and light makes waves. Red goes really big. Violet goes really small. Waves. Earth is a wave slowed down and cemented into physical reality. It is not flat. Now, there are constructs of the flat earth that I would think make sense. Yes. Like going around in a circle, the sun and the moon. Yeah, for sure. Because it's all circles, right? The radius, and you get into Ra. But flat earth, no. I don't get into that stuff. Then you get the concave, and that has its merit as well, because if you watch my Eye of Shalom Ra, I showed what I thought it looks like, and it's a big ball. We live inside the ball, the flower of life ball, and it's all the eyes all the way around it. So we live inside of it, and the waves live inside of that. Some people, if you're a concave earth theory kind of person, you believe that you live inside that ball, and then there's something in the middle. And then we're up flat on the outside of on the outside wall. I've watched so many videos of balloons going to the high atmospheres. And when you get up that high, there's one thing that they have in common. At the very top, all the way at the north part of it, it's completely black. There's no land up there. So that theory's out. Like thinking we're living, sticking on the inside. No. Earth is a wave. And we live inside of a ball, yes. The firmament is probably the thing that's moving at 1,000 miles an hour, the protective barrier. We live in a wave. Wave is what the Christ is. Wave is 18. Jesus is 18. Christ is 18. Water makes waves. Sound makes waves. Light makes waves. Frequencies are waves. We're waves slowed down, crystallized human beings. I mean, I decoded the whole Masonic flat earth on my Patreon. If you want to check that video out, it's exclusively on the Patreon. I showed how all the models how they work, how all the models, the major models work with the world, how they work. Because it's a circle. That's how they all work. So you could take a circle and it's a ball, man. You can move it around like this. Tarot energy says no matter what it is, it's still a simulation. Yeah, so let's talk about that, right? So let's talk occult. What is the esoteric aspect of a simulation? What does that mean? What does it mean to live inside of a simulation? People throw it out there like gangbusters. I've done 3 podcasts with Jason on it, but what does it really mean? How do you define, what does it mean to live through a simulation? Well, the best description I've ever kind of come across, ladies and gentlemen, is that you got to use a computer. And this is what people at high levels do. In order to run scenarios, they take instructions of scenarios, they run it through this computer, and the computer runs the simulation, and out the other end, when the simulation is complete, it spits out possibilities of what will happen. And if you take that same exact example and you move it to the cosmic realm, this is where God creates and codes a simulation. The simulation being the screenplay. Forget about, this is a screenplay that we're living through. That would be the better word, not simulation. It's a screenplay that we're living out. The screenplay gets coded by God or coded by the supernatural or whatever, gets inputted into a certain computer system, a supercomputer, which you can call it, the whole entire world around us. And we, as human beings, we live out the code that's being presented through the screenplay. And now you have your individual screenplays. And they're all branches. And you're going from point A to point B. And when it's time to end that simulation or screenplay, the other one's already been written. Because when you're somebody who puts into a computer system a certain analogy to run through the simulation, the computer, after a certain period of time of computing that information, spits out on the other end the possibilities of what would maybe happen. That's using a computer that man created. But man's not in control of their mind. But we're using a fractal down below the supernatural. Now, if you're going to an area of being in the supernatural, the spiritual realm, well, that would be much more sophisticated, much more accurate. You could say it's perfect. So if it's a perfect simulation that God codes and writes and creates, and you get born into this screenplay, and now you're living out your screenplay. Once the game is over, once the movie is over, just like when your shows are over, you're like, oh man, this is the last episode. Oh God. You know how that feeling is? You're all excited. Oh my God, it's the last. Like right now, I'm a huge fan of that show called The Boys. It's kind of, it's iffy on some of the things, but I just like the writing of it. Well, there's a new episode tomorrow. And I know a lot of people can't wait for the episode to come out. Because that's the same exact scenario as how our reality works. Through these ages, they're already written. You're just waiting for the release to come out. Oh, The Boys will be out tomorrow. I get to watch 50 minutes of that. And it's already written, and when you're watching it, you're watching these characters play out their screenplays, but it's already been written, it's already been shot, it's already the sound, the editing, the final product, it's already done. Well, that's what we're living through, folks. We're living through a final product that's already been put through. And when the age ends, it's just the beginning of another simulation. If you want to call it a simulation, I like to think of it more like a screen. It's a movie. You're in a movie. We're entertainment. That's it. When you watch a movie, it's entertainment for your mind. Same thing. We're being watched. Entertainment. And I think that spirit gets to come down here. If you want to say God, I think it gets to come down here and it gets to be whatever it wants at any time. And this is where you get a lot of these people. I'm a huge fan of Alan Watts, and Alan Watts says we're all incarnations of God. That makes a lot of sense. That has merit to it. Why wouldn't it? If you made a movie and you could go be in the movie, you'd go be in the movie. If you made a phone, you would use the phone that you made. You would. If you make a deck of tarot cards, would you think the people who create the tarot cards, you think they've used their deck at least one time? Yeah. So why is it so far-fetched to think that God doesn't come down here and play out whatever it wants anytime it wants? That's the logical explanation of it. And it's not real. This is where Westworld came in, the movie in 1973. And then Future World came out in 1976, I think it was. And then HBO did their spin-off of it. It's all written into the code, all of it. The Bible, the Quran, the ancient text of Shinto, the Egyptian Book of Life, the Bhagavad Gita. These are all written into the code before we ever were born. And then what we do is we fight about who's right because it creates drama. And then we get harvested for our energy. Just like when you watch a movie and you get so engrossed in that character and you get mad and you cry. Why are you crying? It's not real. Why do you cry when you watch a movie? Because at that moment, you don't distinguish between real life and a movie that's on a screen that was already shot months ago, years ago. Something's getting that energy when you're staring at it and giving off your emotions or frequencies going out, and those energies are being harvested. Again, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm throwing at you are some theoretical ideas to consider. I'm very confident. You know, I may come across like, oh, Logan's a know-it-all. No, I don't know anything actually. Once you have all the availability of all the possibilities, you realize that it's pretty bleak now, because it's like it's pretty. This is why the Matrix has the blue. If you want to take the blue pill, man, you'll forget all of it. Don't have to worry about it. Go back to your normal life. A lot of people want that because they don't want the, like, oh my God, too much. This is the red pill and the blue pill, ladies and gentlemen, is the Adam and Eve story. Why do you think they were naked? They took the blue pill. They had no clue they were naked. Ignorance, being naive. Remember, these are the two first human beings in that story now. I'm not saying it's true, so remember that. Before some of you get on me about, the Bible police and the theological police getting on me like, oh, that it's a story written in the code, folks. The whole allegorical aspect of Adam and Eve being the first people, the closest to perfection that you can get, and they screwed it all up. What chance do you got? When you're so far away from that, the beginning. And on top of that, what it was is they were so pure in that story. That's why they were naive. You're so pure. There's nobody around but you and your partner. And you're frolicking around naked because you have no idea, because there ain't anybody around to tell you that you're naked. So you have no clue. And this is ignorance, being naive, not knowing. They didn't know what was wrong. They didn't know they were naked. That's the whole context of the story. But curiosity, right? Curiosity. And then the whole story goes and branches off into them being thrown out of the garden. Well, obviously, the earth, which is where we're at right now, obviously that was built before they got thrown out. God just didn't instantly create a prison to get thrown us into, or create a second tier of living. Like, oh, you can't be in heaven anymore. You're going to get kicked out. Well, it was already created. So that means that God already premeditated the fact that they were going to make the wrong decision in the context of that story. These are things that I think about logically. Shit was already created. Sharon says, what if Adam and Eve were light beings before becoming matter? I mean, that's the context of the story. You know, I have the raw, I already shot it. It's already ready to go. My raw 88 decoded. And it's a humdinger. Like, it's very revealing. It will put things into context. It will show you the theology, how raw is tied right into theology. To give you more of an understanding of what raw is. And how it's in mainstream and the ancient stuff and all that kind of stuff. I lost my train of thought, but anyway. Oh, the raw material. So what this raw material coming out, folks, I mean, my foundation here through the occult, through the hidden things in life, is that before I get engaged in a conversation with anybody, I'm coming from a place of what you're about to tell me, you're supposed to tell me. So why would I get mad at you for that? It ends division. See, once you know you're living in a predestined, scripted reality, why would you want to cause any division? Well, because we're disruptors. Like anything, I'm a disruptor, so anything that I'm going to put out on the world stage, I'm supposed to do it. So my foundation through all these years is that first, before we engage in a conversation, I'm coming from a perspective of you don't have a choice in your life. You're neither do I. You're just along for the ride. I'm just along for the ride. That's a game changer in the way you think. Because now you don't have to try to go out there and prove anybody wrong. You don't need to go debate anybody. That's a waste. Culty Talks asking, is there a method to finding your spirit animal, or is it just the animal you feel drawn to? I mean, for me, mine was a two-part process. I naturally gravitated to the jaguar, which is why I have one behind me. That's my spirit animal. I was naturally gravitating towards that. That was like, that's always been my favorite. Like, I would love to have a pet jaguar, right? And then when I went to go get my totem pole done, which I didn't even know it existed, 2019, I went with a friend up to Ojai, California, and I met on a whim, didn't even know, but there was a guy that did card readings in the back. His name was Patrick. He's a Cherokee shaman. This guy's completely legit, beautiful man. And he did my totem pole and it was something that I didn't know existed. And the totem pole is using the medicine cards, which are using animals, insect, reptiles, etc. And you only do it one time in your life to find out what spirit animal you're working through. Well, of course, as my destiny would have it, what do I pull as one of my cards? The jaguar, the 51st card in the deck. And the jaguar was in my heart chakra space as well, which was a pretty big deal. Like, it was one of those moments where I had hair standing up and chills and those kinds of feelings. That's what I got. So it's very special to do the totem pole. Voidwalker asks, thoughts on homosexuality? What role does that play in the matrix? Same as being a heterosexual. The sexuality of one's preference, you could be a disruptor. I'm not even going to go into, do I think it's morally right, morally wrong? Because then you're going to use the basis of theology to support that. Most of you would, right? If you're somebody coming from a theological background, you'll use that spell book to base your principles around on whether you want to say the adjective of that's right or wrong. And I just go right back to my base of predestined reality, which trumps all of that. And my base is that you're living out your life because you're supposed to live it out. So I don't think anything of it. What you do is what you do. What I do is what I do. It's all predestined anyway. It's all scripted, no matter what. I mean, I've had conversations where I've asked people, because I'm curious. I've asked people that are gay, when did you know? Like, how did you know? When did you know? And I've had many people that I know tell me, I was young. I was like a little kid. No one forced you into it? No, I was a little kid. I just knew. It's like, okay, well, there's no coercion there. There's no, and then, I was raised in the church is like, you instantly label that as wrong. So you're telling a child who has no idea of between right and wrong, you're telling the kid's wrong, and you can't do that. But you feel a certain way. I don't know. I don't have those feelings, but I've talked to plenty of people that do. But again, I'll go back to the base of we live in a predestined reality. It's that simple. So what you're doing is what you're doing. I've covered how many people, Ted Bundy, serial killer, predestined. Joel Osteen, predestined. Donald Trump, predestined. Barack Obama, predestined. Ronald Reagan, all of them, every single one of them, not having a choice in what they did. The band Pink Floyd, Michael Jackson. I mean, Prince, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Metallica, Megadeth. I mean, I've covered so many bands. Living Colour, Twisted Sister. I've covered so many bands, and the results continually come in through the occult, right? The secret that mankind doesn't have the choice. These people come together because they're supposed to come together. I just did the whole let's talk about Antichrist. Jesus, the only time Jesus ever mentions the Father, he calls him other than Father, it's Abba. And one of the super groups, one of the best-selling groups of all time is called Abba? Really? Coincidence? No. The band members, their birthdays add up to the number 61. 61 is the 18th prime number. Jesus and Christ both equal 18. Come on. Really? It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's so blatant. Amy says, if everything is scripted, it's impossible to not play the game. Agreed. But do we have any leeway of how we react to certain situations? This reality is based on polarization. I believe this reality harvests our emotions through being polarized. Love and fear are the two emotions that polarize you, which are being harvested. Now, if we do have any free will, I say if, and I think if we do, it's very, very little. It just may be the reactions that you have. The reactions that you have towards certain things that happen that you see when you pissed me off, or you did this. Nobody can do shit to you, folks. So the next time you say, oh, you made me feel really depressed. No, you did it. I didn't do anything to you. I can't make you feel a certain way. You got to do it to yourself. Stop blaming. You don't want to take the blame because life's about looking good. I get that. So if there is any leeway in our reality, I feel that it would be through how we react to things. And that's where the neutrality comes in. That's where this comes in. Ben Martin asks, was my meeting was meeting my girlfriend at a family reunion predestined? Of course. Of course it was. You didn't have to go to the family reunion. How many times do we see as human beings things that happen to us like, oh my God, if I would have, I wasn't even supposed to go, but I went. I wasn't even supposed to be there, but I was there. And something monumental happens to you. Why? Why? Because it was part of your screenplay. It's as simple as that. Denver says there are no coincidences. I totally agree. How can there be coincidences? How can there be anything such as coincidences? Cosmic Fern Trees asking about religious burial rituals. I have no idea. I'm esoterically, occult wise, like I'm simple. I like the simple things. Like this whole, I'm not into conjuring and trying to get myself in a triangle and light candles. It's like, oh my God, freaking, if you don't want to talk to me, don't talk to me. It's like all these people, you got to burn this and get a black feather and a mushroom and you got to do, it's like, what? Where did this come from? I know they came from the voice, right? But too much work, man. Simple. So that's why I'm not into the whole rituals and passing the bread and drinking the wine and all that stuff. No. Not for me. Happy's asking about, is the answer blessing everything? Like Christ said, pray for your enemies. If you're asking me about prayer, I'm going to tell you, to me, it's completely useless. I don't know if you haven't been here the whole time. I showed earlier how the story of Judas betraying Jesus was a predestined script. It's irrefutable. I mean, it is absolutely bulletproof that was a predestined reality. And I continue to see it in my reality. Things happen. I get signs, symbols, numbers, things happen, songs come on out of the clear blue, things pop into my head out of the clear blue. So what would be the point of prayer? Why would you even ask for anything? Now, gratitude, that's a different story. Being thankful and grateful for everything around you. Like I went today to the gym. I'm riding. There's one way in and one way out to where I live and where the gym is. It's like a 1.5 mile ride, one way in, one way out. When I'm riding back, I thought to myself, I'm going to talk to my body. So I started giving thanks to my legs and my muscles and my knees and my feet and the sneakers that are on my feet and the socks. Why would I do that? Well, because I'm grateful that they're giving me what I'm needed to do to ride the bike. That is the magic in gratitude. Prayer, it's useless in a predestined reality. Now, if you're going to give energy, if you're going to give love energy to somebody, like, you're sending somebody good thoughts or something, well, that's a different story. That would be a different story because that's magic. Sending somebody good thoughts is a magic spell. Just like when somebody reads the Bible, you're reading a magic spell. That's what it means. That's a spell book. The Bible, the ancient text of Shinto, the Egyptian book of life, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, these are all spell books. And they're all owned by the same boss. That's what the code says. So what's the part of fighting? Because the game needs this. It's got to be your way. It's got to be your way. Ben Martin's asking about who are the Jesuits. Well, if you go to my video catalog, I broke down the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, it's called. I broke it down. Decode, I showed that organization clearly is also being used like a puppet on strings. That's no disrespect to the people that are in those organizations. They're doing their job. Folks, we're inside of a movie, man. You're in a game. We're entertainment. All the world's a stage. Yeah, Angela says Judas has a bad chart, but infamous. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it wasn't even just Judas, folks. It was the rooster crowing 3 times and Peter denying Jesus. I mean, that was predestined. I mean, how much more do you need to hear and see in those layers of the spell book that it is? Crypto Lalo asks, what do the chosen ones do in a scripted reality? Well, the best thing I can tell you is every single one of you is a chosen one. You were chosen to be here in this movie as a character. So you're a chosen one. I have a decode coming out on chosen one. So what is your job? Find out if there is free will. And I say if, because it's very iffy. But if you're drawn to figure out who you are and why you're here, you're supposed to. If you feel like, that's bullshit and that's nonsense, then that's what you need to do. This channel is, I've made this clear, this is not for everybody. I'm not in this for likes, subscriptions. I'm not in this for blue ribbons. I'm not in this for trophies. I'm not in this for donations. I'm not in this for any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't care if you like me, if you don't like me. I've made it very clear. I'm very candid about this. If you're somebody who finds your truth elsewhere, you're supposed to find it elsewhere. Why are you getting mad at me because I said something that offended you? You're getting offended because of what? Why are you offended? Because you haven't been able to figure out how you can keep your emotions down and not get triggered? It's not on me, that's on you. I'm not saying that would be you, who asked me that question. Was it Ben? I don't know. Whoever asked me that question, that's not on you. I'm just going on a little tangent. Someone's asking, why are people able to dream of future events? Part of their script. You know, I did a podcast with Robin she's from Mount Shasta, and it was, let's talk about the upside down world. And when I looked at her astrological chart, I had done a reading for her, and when I did the reading for her, it was very clear what her power was, which is why I don't invite a lot of people on the podcast, as you know, right? Why I invited her on there. Because she has this talent to do and be able to see things that most people can't see. How come I didn't get that? Because I wasn't supposed to. Why didn't you get that? Because you weren't supposed to. What you got is what you got. And I think that the age of Aquarius is all about I know thyself. And I think that when you start to, if you're called to do it, when you're called to look into the occult, when you're called to look into the secrets of life, which was taboo in the age of Pisces, right? It was off limits. Don't do that. Well, see, the age changes and now people are doing that. And now they're beginning to see, holy shit, there's more to this than I thought. Yeah, why are we now finding these things out? Why are we seeing these? Because it's time. It's time for that part of the movie to roll out. Why all this stuff? Justice. You start to see this stuff on the mainstream. Why is justice being brought in? Why didn't it happen 50 years ago? This shit's been going on for a long time. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the screenplay. The movie didn't call for it. It's like, are you going to complain when a part of the movie, the climax of the movie doesn't happen when you want the climax of the movie to happen? No, you'll just be very happy and content sitting there watching the movie. waiting for it to tell you the story. Because it's the author, whoever wrote the screenplay, it's their version of the story. And you sit there and you're entertained by it. Well, you're being entertained by the story that was written in here, and it's a very complex system. It's not just a one-stop shop. I told you it's a Ponzi scheme. That's what the code says. You don't have to believe me, but I would encourage you to do your own research, because I back it up. I'm not somebody just throwing it out there and just making statements without supporting it. Most of you that are here, I support as much as I can that I put out there on the world stage. Even when I regurgitate something, taking something that I never came up with, I read it and I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting, and then decoding it and putting backbone behind it. That's what I'm into. The occult. I'm into the occult. For sure. Because that's where the monsters hang out. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate you. Grateful for you being here. Thanks, everybody, for being here. What's up, Marco? Thank you so much for being. I'm just going through your comments, ladies and gentlemen. Brookfield Brothers, appreciate you. Shauna's asking about a decode on Tool. I have that decode shelved. Maynard was born. It's interesting. Maynard was born on April 17th. That's funny. You mentioned that. Maynard, the lead singer of Tool, was born on April 17th, and that's his birth card. And this is just so happens to be the Four of Clubs day today. So it's interesting that you asked about that, which is the Four of Wands. This is the card of the house, as in the house always wins. It's really interesting. Parker says, my simulation sucks. I want a new one. Well, Parker, I definitely would encourage you to strive to look at, and just like, let me give you an example, right? When I used to do personal training, when I was really big into fitness, I did a lot of weight reduction training, right? A lot of people, I used to manage a gym, so people would come in there, and of course, the people that are overweight, that want to reduce down, they come into the gym and, it's New Year's, and I'm going to sign up. Well, this is the gym industry. You'd have a flood of people signing up for memberships right after the new year, right? Because people want that fresh start. They use the new year as that fresh start. Well, people coming into the gym that want to reduce their weight, what I got really good at was being able to provide that for people successfully, because the system that I had in place was not just, okay, you got to do 5 million things and change your whole life. Because that's what normal, it's like you got to work out and you got to be really meticulous, because people get sore. And if they're new, they'll never come back. They'll be so sore they can't get out of bed, and they'll be like, oh, damn that Logan, right? So you got to start them off. And so I'm giving you this example because if you're somebody here who wants to reduce, let's say you're 20 pounds past your prime, right? 50 pounds, and you want to reduce your weight. How do you do that? Well, see, keep it simple. So the success for me was just giving somebody one habit to do and establish that for 3 to 4 weeks. So they'd come into the gym, they'd want to get a membership. Okay, great. So we're going to do 2 things because you want to come into the gym. Great. How much water are you drinking? And normally the majority of people, 99.9% of all people that are overweight don't drink enough water, right? They consume more food. They don't drink enough water. Their body's toxic, yada, yada, yada. So I would say, okay, for the next 3 to 4 weeks, I don't care if you miss the gym. I want to make sure you're drinking 3 liters of water a day. You got to be authentic though, man. I'm not doing it for you. So don't try to cheat yourself out of this. And then I want you to write it down and keep a written log of everything you eat and drink for the next month. Can you do that? And that's the only thing I want you to do, right? So it's keeping it simple. So why I'm telling you this, Parker, is because, see, if you start to pay attention to how you look at this reality, like, oh, my simulation sucks, I want a new one. You already have a new one. There's a new one every day. So the thing is to keep it simple. What do you focus on the daily? Why do you say your simulation sucks? Maybe you're looking at it the wrong way. Matter of fact, I would say you are looking at it the wrong way. It may suck right now. Life's not a bowl of cherries all the time. My life's not glorious every day. I have my ups and downs. But again, it's all about trying to get into that middle. And if you're saying my simulation sucks, then it means you're probably way far off and you're unbalanced. You got to get back to neutrality. You got to get back to the middle point where you can observe the left and right. Maybe you need to trim some fat in your life. Maybe you need to get rid of some friends or people that you're attached to that are dragging you down, that are just negative people that want to argue and debate. Maybe you're filling your mind with video games, which are completely, altering your sense of purpose. Maybe you're watching too much shows. Maybe you need to get out and ground. When's the last time you got in ground? How's your diet? There's so much that goes into this, but just change one thing. Try to change one thing for 1 month, and that is, what do you love about your life? What are you grateful for? Okay, your simulation sucks, but it doesn't completely suck. Not everything in your simulation sucks. So there has to be something that you're grateful for that you love in your life. Focus on that. Do more of that. That's, of course, not harmful, right? Pick something that you can get in the habit of doing, that you can be grateful for, that will give you a payoff that's not going to take you down. And that's how you change this. So you already have the new one. You just have to take into accordance of what I'm suggesting here. I'm not saying that you need to do what I'm telling you to do. It's just a suggestion for you. Fotina is asking what I do a decode on Teal Swan. I have never thought of doing a decode on Teal Swan. I used to watch some of her stuff back in the day. I don't really pay much attention to her stuff now. She's pretty big on the world stage, though. I remember, like, when I started watching her, she was small fry. I haven't never looked into her birthday, her astrology. I mean, I could only really look at her astrological map, which is a pretty big marker, right? But I haven't thought about looking into her. I might. Full Count is asking, who was the sports decoder you had on around Super Bowl? That was Aaron. Aaron from Detroit. Yeah, he's still doing it. Still doing the sports. Completely, got hammered on the Super Bowl, but he's still doing it. So he hasn't given up. Teal is a psychopath. Do you know Teal? Saya type? Do you know her personally, or did you date her or something? Amy says, I would enjoy a lot more if I knew that we weren't going to continually recycle for energy. Amy, let me be very clear. Esoterically, hidden, occult, we don't even know if that's true. It's a theory. See, no one's died to come back and tell us what happens. So you might as well go all out. You might as well go all in this life. You might as well go do the things that you want to do. That's the voice in your head's telling you to do. You might as well do it. All right, does anybody have occult? Let's stick to the occult here. Does anybody have any occult questions? Anybody want me to decode something that involves the occult? What do you guys want to talk about, you guys and gals? Jasmina, what about near-death experiences? I don't get into that stuff. Never had one. Not really interested in that. That's like a dream. I'm not belittling it, but to me, it's just like a dream. I had this amazing dream last night. I really did. What's the difference between having a dream and a near-death experience? Nothing. To me, it's not. It's a dream. Can I explain the meaning of gnosis? Well, gnosis just means knowledge. That's it. Knowledge. I mean, I don't know how much the meaning of that. It means knowledge. Gnosis is tied to the occult, right? Hidden knowledge, if you want to add on the occult. Occult gnosis. Gnosis means knowledge. Jacob's asking about Saturn in the 8th house. Kronos in the 8th house. Well, you got to look to see like who is the Lord of the 8th house? Who is the Lord of the 8th house? Pluto and Mars. So I'd have to look at your entire chart. Where's your Pluto and Mars? Because they're going to be impacting the 8th house of Saturn. Saturn sitting in the 8th house. What astrology sign is Saturn sitting in the 8th house? That's going to be a factor. So it's not an easy question to answer of Saturn in the 8th house. You got to know, is there anybody else there hanging out? Let's get some astrology. Let's get some astrology. Okay, here we go. I'm going to get some astrology. Here we go, folks. This is going to be coming in my my raw decoded, right? And we're gonna look to the birthing of the White House in Washington D.C. Right? Now, what you're gonna find is that the front of the White House has that triangle on it, and what I've overlaid onto that triangle is the constellation Lib-Ra, which is the Omega symbol. So now you have the ending of the Alpha. You have one half of the I Am. You have one half of Uhuru Mazda. You have one half of whatever it is that you think God is. Time. Alpha, I am the beginning and end. That's time. And there's so many things that fit into that, but it's Lib-Ra. And it's the scales of justice. Right? Now, when you look at the astrological map for the White House, it was in the story now, that's all I can go by. They moved in, George Washington moved in on the 1st of November, 1800. Long time ago. So here's the sidereal, the Vedic. Tropical will not work with these scenarios. So those of you that are fans of tropical, that's totally cool. I'm a fan of all astrology. But if you want the most accurate, you will have to go to the sidereal. You cannot use tropical to get the accuracy. That is my opinion, but I back it up. And it's not even this. This is just a guide because these aren't actual placements. You got to actually go to like a website called Stellarium on the web and look at the true map of the stars. And you got to look to the stars with your own eyes to see, right? But what you're looking at here is the sun. On November 1st, 1800, was in the sign of Lib-Ra. And there it is right on the front of the White House. Coincidence? No, see, if I look at a tropical astrology chart, where would the sun be? In Scorpio. It would be in Scorpio. And then it would remove that spirit being in Lib-Ra. It would remove it. It would move Neptune, Poseidon into Scorpio. Now, yes, Scorpio is considered the eagle. The eagle is on the flag, but there you have Venus in Scorpio. And Venus is a big deal because that's Aphrodite. And she represents spirit into matter because the circle represents spirit and the cross below that represents matter. So that's why you have that aspect of the eagle right there. But the November 1st date, the sun was in the sign of Lib-Ra. And the November 1st date is the 6 of diamonds. and you convert that to the tarot, and what do you see on that tarot card? See the scales? So, I mean, you know, look, did the Rider-Waite and Company, did they create this because they were looking at the astrological map of the White House and when they moved in? Maybe. But there are so many other instances of this. It's just a big humdinger. So clearly it's the government, right? The White House, they become the government and this is the people, right? They want to play God. And this 6 is a big deal. 6 is tied to the word blood in Greek numerology. Jesus Jesus reduces down to the number 6. Why do you think the governments, especially the United States, why do they do the inauguration with the hand on the Bible? Because it has to do with Jesus. Jesus in Greek numerology is a 24, which reduces down to the number 6. Is this a mere coincidence? Why do they inaugurate with the hand on the Bible? Because the church, the state, and the government are all one and the same. They're all following the same principles. Right? They're all following the same principles. Across the way, in the 7th house, is the moon. It was a full moon. Release. The full moons are release. What a full moon in Aries, what does that mean? Well, Aries is fire, igniting, initiation. So this is the initiation of birthing into the White House. And the moon is the way you feel about your reality. That's why you go on a honeymoon. Okay? A honeymoon. We had Rahu in the sign of Pisces in the 6th house. Right? Pisces, and across the way Virgo. We had Ketu and we had Rahu, the axis of these two, in the 6th and 12th houses. This is 126. And 126 goes back to Jesus again. Going back to the Bible and the inauguration and swearing people in with the Bible and the hand on the Bible. There's a lot of action here. Mars is the ruler of Aries. But the 7th house is ruled by Libra. So they just switched. This is a symbiotic relationship, these two. Mars being the ruler of Aries, Aries being the ruler of the 1st house. So essentially the way you read astrology, or the way I read astrology anyway, is that you look to the celestial, right? Like let's consider Zeus, okay? Zeus, now what's the job of Zeus? Expansion. Wherever your Zeus is, its job is to expand your reality, your consciousness. Zeus, of course, is tied to church, religion, because it rules the 9th house, and the 9th house, 9 in numerology, is your higher mind. It's theology, it's religion. All those fit in the context of the number 9, right? It's the sage, the shaman, Zeus. And so Zeus, during this time, now this is at 7:01 a.m. Now I don't know exactly when they moved in, I guessed, but the zodiac signs will not change. The houses may change, yes, but the zodiac signs will not change of these placements. So Zeus was in the sign of Cancer. So what I do when I do readings, I say it like this, okay? So Cancer becomes the landlord, right? If you got a landlord, how does your landlord behave? They tell you can't do this, you can't do that. There's rules, right? Don't drill the holes into the wall. You can't hang up this. You can't do that. That's your landlord, right? You sign a contract. Well, essentially, it works the same way. So Zeus comes and lands here, and Zeus is like, oh, hey, Cancer, can I rent a room from you? And Cancer's like, of course you can. And Zeus is like, well, you know what I'm all about. I'm all about expansion. I'm all about justice. I'm all about higher ideals, and I'm all about philosophy and religion. So what can I do here? And Cancer's like, well, I'm all about care and compassion and love, because it's ruled by the moon, right? The honeymoon. So Zeus comes in here and he must abide by the landlord. So he brings in his higher ideals, justice, church, and he's under the guise of care and compassion and love. So when this when this organization was built, I would say that when it was first built, it was a child, right? The government, when the Constitution was first instituted in the 1700s, it was a child. And what are children? They're caring and compassionate. It was love. It was all about power to the people. And it was all about fairness and equality and all those kinds of qualities that the Constitution, freedom of speech and all that stuff, because it was brand new. And it was being played through these celestials. But of course, over time, what happens? What does time do? It's the devil. It starts to incorporate darkness and decay, and now the rules get bent and the Constitution doesn't get followed and things get ripped apart. That's what time does. So that's how I read these. And there's a lot more to this, but this is a very easy way to consider how this stuff works. I mean, Cancer being across from Capricorn being the great judge, and the great judge is sitting in probably not even in just Leo. If I look to the map of the stars, it's probably going to be sitting here in the sign of Cancer. It's going to be probably both of those. So you literally would have the great judge here, Father Time, who is all about law and order, with the sun. You literally have the father and son sitting side by side in the sky. I know that they're about 20 degrees apart, but nonetheless, they're not conjunct, but they're sitting next to one another. And this is father and son. And essentially, I feel like these are the two that run the whole thing, right? He sends the sun down to set up the timeline, and Jupiter is the one that rules the timelines, along with everything else. So there's a lot more to this. Obviously, we can go through every single one, talk about what all these things mean. But you kind of get the legits of it. And the Six of Diamonds, of course, can fit in the sixth position here. Again, I don't know if these houses are accurate, so I can look to the sixth zodiac sign, and the Six of Diamonds would fit here because the sixth zodiac sign through tropical is Virgo. I could even push it back to Leo. But you have some celestial activity here. You have K2, which kind of represents the spirituality, been there, done that, and you got Uranus, which is the free thinker. Uranus being a primordial, it doesn't go by anybody's rules and regulations. It represents heaven. So essentially, this Six of Diamonds could sit here with the Uranus. And Uranus is the granddaddy of them all, the primordial. These are all Titan, Olympian. These are all Olympians. This is a Titan, and this is a primordial. So you're talking a big difference in astrology, and that's why it can be really complicated when you read these charts. Okay, so hopefully, I hope that helps some of you. Oops. Okay. Jerry Smith says, funny how everyone was saying just don't vote Trump, and now it's almost totally flipped. Well, and I'm not picking on you, Jerry. I just want to point this out. That how would you know that? How would you know that these things were taking place? The only way you would know that is because you're paying attention to it. Which means, and I want to be clear for everybody here, that when you are plugged in and you're focusing on anything mainstream, you are feeding it. You are making it grow. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. So don't try to come at me like, oh, you think it's bad and Logan's an asshole. And I'm just pointing out the obvious. If you're going to talk mainstream and you know how what's going on in the mainstream, that means you're paying attention to it. That means you're contributing to its growth. Don't you want to stop contributing to the growth of that? I mean, if you're here in this podcast, in this discussion, I would imagine you wouldn't want to be part of that. But that's magic. That's why I don't really pay attention to I'm like oblivious. I don't really click on those things anymore. Because I know how magic works. Of course, yes, it is a contradiction because I do decode certain things. I have. But I just don't pay attention to those stories. It doesn't matter to me. It's just a show. And I don't get to be a star in that movie. No one's inviting me over for dinner from that story. Those people that are the stars, they don't invite me over to dinner. I don't get presents from them. They're not calling me on the phone. Why would I want to pay any attention to? They're not watching my life. I doubt anybody in the White House is watching my material. I doubt it. Because they're too busy playing politics. I get it. But if you're not going to watch my stuff and I'm not going to watch your stuff, then that's great. Because I'm not in your world and you're not in mine. So Jerry, I was no disrespect to you. I was just making a point. But then you go on to say, I don't believe in most of Logan's perspectives. Then I just would say, well, why are you here then? Anyways, I appreciate you no matter what. Much love to you, man. Whatever you're doing in the world. All that matters is what you believe. So it's all good. And if the comment was to somebody else, then my apologies. Jasmina says, thank you so much. Love your work. Thank you so much. Got to go to sleep. All right. Sleep well. If you NDE dream, near death experience dream a little dream. Okay. Well, it would be great to meet a lot of you in person. So I get faces for that. These avatars kind of suck sometimes. Tigger says, I messaged you about the word shalom. It originates with the Canaanite worship of the goddess Shalom. So Shalem is the goddess of dusk dawn, which refers to the planet Venus. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are connected to Venus. But merely I'm not going into the word and the origins and what it's connected to per se. I'm doing the decoding of the word. So anybody can claim that Shalom is Venus, or they can say it's Mars, or they can say it's Jupiter. That's something that you read. I get it. And I appreciate that you've adopted that as your truth. I'm merely a decoder, and I'm looking at Shalom and the word and the breakdown of Shalom. And I mean, it equals the number 7, which ties into the letter Zayin. And that's why you have the 7 colors of the rainbow and light. So Venus has a big play in this because Venus represents Pandora's box. That's what Shalom Ra is, Pandora's box. So I agree with you. There's a massive connection to Venus. Shalom Ra is Pandora's box. It's the eye of Shalom Ra. What is that? Pandora's box. What is Pandora's box? Good and evil. That's where Venus comes into it, because Venus is humping and screwing and doing this and having orgasms and the draw towards sex. That's what you need to pump out people. So I'm not denying that the origination's going all the way back to Venus. There's a lot of things that connect to Venus. That's Pandora's box. And what is the eye of Shalom Ra? Pandora's box. The all-seeing eye is watching over Pandora's box. Duality. You're stuck in beta. History person, I'm a generator. Generator 2-4. Yeah. You know, there's a good possibility that Joe's a robot. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Signature Sentences says George Washington could not have moved into the White House in 1800 since he died on December 14th, 1799. Yeah, who it was? It was whoever else it was. So I got that wrong. Whoever else it was. But the delivery of the White House was November 1st, 1800. That's what is in the history books. That's what in the context of the books. But good catch on that. Let's get to the tail end of this. Let's do some cards and then wrap this up. Bill Bew asks, do you believe that the Jews are divine or the chosen ones as they believe they are? Of course they are. Why would they be? I mean, if somebody says, I'm a chosen one, okay, you're a chosen one. Great. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from people. Countless. Of these long emails, these stories of, I'm the chosen one. Not in that same context, but I'm this and I'm that. And okay. I mean, some of the stories are they make really good books. Like, well, you should be an author. Right? But, I mean, I'd put you in a room with all the other people that say the same thing. So this goes back to the division, right? If an organization believes that they are the chosen one, then that's totally fine. I have no problem with it. Don't care. If that's what you think. Live and let live, right? But I believe everybody's the chosen one. You're chosen to be here. John Adams. Thank you, Christy444. John Adams. There you go. That's even more ridiculous because it's the atom, right? Even more ridiculous for that story. Atom, John Adam. Come on. Okay. Juliano's asking for something. I don't know. Pamela or Steven, do you see that? Juliano's asking for something. Oh, yeah, just email me and I'll send you the charts. That's what you're looking for, the charts. You can send me an email. decodeyourreality@gmail. And they're complimentary, so you don't have to pay for anything. Bill Bew says, that's fair, but they believe, we're talking to the Jewish nation, they believe they are the only chosen ones. And again, if that's what you think, great. See how that just dissolves dissonance. Like if somebody comes up to you and says, we're the chosen ones and you're not. Okay. And then I'm going to get some food. You want to come to eat? Invite them to lunch. Just pretend like, okay, that's great. I'm going to go back to my movie now. Or I'm the chosen one in that one. You want to come in mine? No, I'm not going to come in your movie. Well, okay, well, why should I come in yours? Well, because I got these historical texts and, well, I got this. No, but those are wrong. See how silly this whole reality is? You are a chosen one, folks. Every single one of you. You are a chosen one. You got chosen to be here. Well, again, and yeah, talk about the pride and arrogance. Yeah, but okay, how do you rise above that? How do you become neutral to that? Not labeling it as such. Just eliminate the pride and arrogance and just say they believe that they're the chosen ones, and great. And just chalk it up to that, like, okay, cool. And just go about your day, right? Like, I don't look at it like arrogant. Like, these people really believe that. Cool. I'm not going to lose sleep tonight because you think you're the chosen one and I'm not. It's totally fine. This is where you get good, man, right? This is when you get really neutral about it, as I can look at somebody and listen to their story and they can say, I'm a chosen one and you're not. You don't have the right religion and you don't have the right God and you don't have this and you're that. And I just be like, okay, what are you going to say to that? See, the reality is they want debate. They want to debate. That's why they put that wall up, because it's asking you to come in and debate it or become part of their organization so they can have a bigger wall. And the bigger the wall means they're deathly afraid of being wrong. The bigger the wall, the more deathly afraid they are of being wrong. So the bigger the fight somebody puts up. If somebody's out there debating or trying to prove somebody wrong or saying that someone's wrong, the bigger fight they put up, to me, tells me that they are deathly afraid of being wrong. And we're all guilty of doing that, myself included. I've been in those shoes. I'm always tempted with it. So I'm not immune to this stuff, folks. If you can go sit in a room, there was a great meme that I posted and I said, if God wants to test a vegan, he'll put him in a room full of carnivores. And you can flip that. If God wants to test a carnivore, he puts it in a room full of vegans. Right? You can use that for anything. You want to test a Christian? Throw him into a room full of people that are Scientologists. See what happens. You can use that scenario for anything. There's no test, though. You're either going to live and let live, or you're going to sit there and you want to try to preach to somebody because you just feel like you got to be right. There's something inside of you that you can't let go of. Like, I got to be right. And I got to tell you why you're wrong. There's this itch. When the whole show that we're in is all entertainment. Nobody's wrong. They're just an entertainer. Oh, so there really wasn't a text that somebody, this person's promulgating this and it didn't really happen? Oh, okay, but I mean, so what? They're entertainers. It's all a story, folks. It's all a story. All right. Let's get into some tarot, huh? You know, remember, I think Juliano just triggered me. Remember that the age of Pisces was in cahoots with the age of Virgo, right? Virgo and Pisces are right across from one another. And those are mutable. Those two signs, that age that we've seemingly left, we left a mutable sign. Mutable, right? Diversity. You're moving into a fixed sign. Much different. Fixed. Oh, it's much different than mutable. Anyway, all right, let's get into some tarot. I've shuffled the card a million times over, so let's talk occult. We're gonna get some messages here, and let's kind of start off with, what is the most important thing for the entire world to focus on right now? Now you gotta put on your thinking hats now. You're gonna get a picture of the world. Now, some of these messages, by the way, will be exclusively for you. They're gonna ring a bell in your mind. And if you know somebody that has this card that I pulled, then it is definitely more than likely for you. Like if you go watch a tarot reader and you go watch like a love reading, it's so beneficial to know what the person you're interested in, what their card is. Because if they pull your partner's card or the person you're interested in, man, that's a big deal. That's why it's so important to know the cards, man. Like if you're dating somebody, what is their birth card? If you're married to somebody, what's their birth card? What do they behave like? So anyway, let's find out, like, the collective. What's the main energy of the collective consciousness right now? And we're all part of that, right? Even if you've branched off and you've been like myself, you're away from that. What's the collective energy of this world right now? What's the energy? We're going to ask the tarot. The energy is the King of Swords. So what is this energy right here? Clarity. The collective wants clarity. They want to know. This is the great judge. This is the chief. This is the card that represents Kronos, that sits in a courtroom. I talked about this. That doesn't sit there and judge with emotions. A bad judge uses emotions to give a verdict. A really good one doesn't have any emotions involved. That's this guy. So right now, the world as a whole, and maybe even governed by, not being emotional. In the sense of, and there, of course, the collective, there are a lot of, we get emotional, but I'm saying is, the message here for the collective is that you should be using an energy based upon the King of Swords, which is, don't get so emotional. The world is designed right now, the energy is designed right now to focus on clarity. They want clarity. They want to get down to the nitty-gritty. They want to have authoritative positions. The King of Swords, man, it's card 64. 63/64. And non-player character is 63. 64 is how many squares are on a chessboard. So there's other layers here. I mean, this card normally is a card, as I just described, is with great clarity. This doesn't use emotions, doesn't get caught up in emotions to make its decisions. It's very authoritative. It is a judge. It represents Kronos, or Kronos represents that. So there is this other layer of the collective. If I were to flip it upside down, I don't really read reverses, right? Because I don't, like, you pull the cards out, like, you got to have a method. I haven't gotten to that method, but let's talk about the liability part of it. If I flip this upside down and I talk about the collective being this way. So if the collective's not being non-emotional, if they're being really emotional, they're not thinking without emotions, then it can be the reverse of that. This would be the liability of this card. They're thinking with their emotions. They're too heavily involved with their reactions to this reality. This guy doesn't react. He sits there peacefully, calmly, looks at both sides, calculates what's going on, It's the chief. Well, if it's flipped, then the collective's not doing that. They're just reacting with emotions. They're reacting without thinking. You know, they say that, I just got this from a few people, that your reactions, and this has been supported, I'm not going to say proved, but in science it's been supported, where you'll react like 4 to 7 seconds before it ever happens. The reaction. Where you're like, you know, even jumping or whatever. The reaction it happens before it. It's like premeditated. But that's the first card. So I'm going to read both. I want to go both sides. I'm going to read the right side up and the upside down. Okay. So let's get the second one here. Let's go on this. Let's continue on this. Let's see what else we got with the world here. So we have the Ace of Wands. This is the Hollywood card. You see that wand in its hand? That's abracadabra. That's Hollywood. This card's tied to Hollywood. This is the Harry Potter wand right there. The aces mean beginnings. Alpha. Not beta, alpha. This is an alpha card. So we have, and this could just be talking what's governing this reality over the collective. Well, the great judge, you have Father Time here. Saturn is in Aquarius, I believe. And then you have the abracadabra and the magic wand. This converts into this is card number 43. This is card number 43. Tied to Ra. This is tied to Ra too, by the way. So we have authority without emotion. We have creation without emotion. We have just a straight up creation by way of non-emotions right now. Let's get the third card. And we got the Ten of Cups, card 45/46, right? The Rainbow Bridge. This is the founding date of the Society of Jesus, September 27th. This is this card right here. It's paired with the Five of Swords, which is the founding date of the Bavarian Illuminati on May 1st. Think about that. Bavarian Illuminati and the Society of Jesus have the Ten of Cups and the Five of Swords together. But this card, you know, like what's being created right now? Well, there's a rainbow bridge. There's a new kid in town. There's a new energy that's being created through the authoritative position of the chief. The best way to create, because it creates something that's fair, it's equality. Let's see what this whole thing means here. Next card is, the pair. Wow, we got the pair, the king and queen. We got the 62nd/63rd card in the deck, the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Swords. We literally have the king and queen here together now, and the queens are the queen bees, and the king oversees the queen to make sure that the kingdom's running right, but the queens are the powerhouses. This card is tied to the flower of life. It's tied to the flower of life. So we have the king at the starting point. We have the Ace of Wands, which is abracadabra. We have some kind of beautiful rainbow bridge coming in, and then we have the flower of life here. Do we have a new flower of life being built here? A new simulation, a new reality? Well, I mean, that's obvious. I don't even need to tell you that. But let's keep going. We got 4 cards. Let's get 7 total. Let's get a 5th card now. The 5th card is, we have the 7 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles is card number 70/71. 71 is the 20th prime number. 20 is calcium. 20 is our bag of bones. This represents God looking over your life. So consider that this is your life. And it's looking over your life to figure out what it wants to keep, what it wants to take with it. So in the context of this story, we have the authoritative king drafting up a brand new abracadabra Hollywood movie that looks pretty badass. It has the queen there to pair up with the king. She's the no-nonsense, clarified queen, tied to the flower of life. And then coming in the fifth position, there's okay, let's make sure that we get this right. The Seven of Pentacles. 7 always represents the crown, and the Pentacles represents physicality in the tarot, the last suit. So it represents money and physical and manifestations. So let's keep going here. We have kind of a broad stroke picture right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we get 2 more. 6 card is, please. We get the Page of Cups, card number 46/47. The Page of Cups, these pages are like, they're like little prince or princesses. So they're not the jacks. The jacks are what go off into battle. The pages are like the knight. It's like, imagine a kid, maybe you have a kid that you sent off to college, and they graduate and they're super excited, and they go to a job fair and they get hired on the spot. And they just signed a contract, and now they're out of college. They're making like $100,000 a year as an engineer, let's say. How you feeling as a 22-year-old or a 21-year-old? You're fresh out of college, and you get a $100,000 contract for 3 years with some company. Fresh out of college, you're on top of the world. That's kind of the energy of what these pages represent. And they got that fish in the cup there. So this represents something new. This is the water, the cups, water. Let's see if we can tie this all together with the last and final card. And then I'm going to go individually and give you kind of some messages here. The last card, card number 7. It's Pandora's box. Oh yeah, the 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups is a Venus-Saturn card, and it is a Pandora. This is the Pandora's box card. This is wish fulfillment. This is Ra. Meaning in the eye of Shalom Ra, the good and evil, this represents evil. Why? Because this is where you manifest everything. Oh, I'm going to have all my wishes and dreams and I'm going to have all my Ferraris and cars, and I'm going to get on the movie screen, and I'm going to have this beautiful partner, and I'm going to be able to have sex all the time, and I'm going to just booze it up, and that's all this. It's Venus. It's Pandora's box. That's why Venus was so revered back in the day. Because Aphrodite represented this, the 9 of Cups, and the 9 is Diabolos, the tie-in to the devil, to Venus. Sex, orgasms. Let me just add these up real quick and see what I get for numerical. 64. $379. I think that's a prime number. Either 375 or 379. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's the 75th prime number, folks. So this message has a lot more to say. 75 is the number of Lucifer. 75 is rhenium. 75 is Jesus and arsenic, and 33. So it looks like for the collective. And this may or may not resonate with you, right? Maybe you're you're going to see it if you plug in. Depends how much you've unplugged. But there's an authoritative figure here. And it's using the magic wand, abracadabra, to create some kind of new reality that will deliver a lot of happiness. It will be no nonsense. It will deliver a lot of clarity. It will be ruled over by divine clarity with the Queen. There's an essence of something here being looked over to make sure that whatever is being utilized and harvested in this reality is going to be taken or trashed. Okay? And then there's a new contract coming. There's a new gift coming in. This is essentially another card looking for love. And the final card here in the lineage is the Pandora's box. See, Lucifer represents the light game. That's why Lucifer has a tie into Venus. Aphrodite, and you go start studying this old ancient esoteric information, this occult information. This is why you have Aphrodite being worshipped. I mean, if you watch Dr. Eamon Hillman, and he talks about it in the Greek, and he says Medura, I think that's what her name is where you get the lineage and the connections to Jesus from. That's what he's claiming, and that's all tied to Venus. Now, was Venus a sun at one time? I've postulated this. The celestials in the sky at one time each wore a sun. And then they burn out and they become a celestial, in a sense. And this is where you get the story of Gaia and Uranus, heaven and earth, giving birth to the celestials. Is that what we do? As we run the simulation, we as human beings, we create through these manifestations, and the energy that we are collectively creating on the world stage, it's all inside the self-contained system. Well, when it's time to release that, the phoenix rises up, and this is where I talked about the piston inside of an engine. If you know how the engine works, when the piston goes up and down, when the piston goes up, the spark plug is there, the combustion happens, and it forces the piston down. This is a phoenix event aspect. Is this what it looks like for our reality and the clearing of the board? Leave the world behind. What does the phoenix event look like? The clearing of the board. What does that look like? Well, clearly what's going on here with this message is there's something new coming in. Now, I don't know how subtle it is. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it's authoritative. I mean, you got the king and queen right here together. That's a big deal when you get a king and queen together. What else? I mean, when Pandora's box comes in, this card right here, wishes, hopes, dream. This is the card of evil, because evil is everything that you desire. Desire is lust, and you can't help it. You know, like I've been tempted so many times. I have this, how do I get around here where I live? I have this beater bike, this bicycle, right? It's just a cruiser, spray painted black. It's beat, rusted. The basket I have on the front where I throw my groceries, I got the zip ties on there because it's all rusted because of the weather. I'm totally cool with it. I could go buy a brand new bike. But I'm like, I could go buy a brand new bike. That's what this card means. The card's like, just go buy a brand new bike. Logan, just go get a brand new bike. Just go get a brand new bike, will you? And me being a minimalist, I'm like, what for? So maybe the message is here for you is, maybe you need to analyze your life. Like all of those coins in that heap of whatever's in here, this is you sweeping it up, and you're figuring out right now in your life, if you were to collect everything in your house, what's going to, like just today, I had to have my air conditioner fixed. So as they were fixing my air conditioner, I went in my bedroom. I have a small bedroom, and I had a whole bunch of stuff that was just, it needed to be thrown out. Empty bottles. I got a lot of supplements. I got like a whole supplement factory, but I got empty bottles, and I'm like, what am I saving these for? So they're just taking up room. So I got rid of it. I went through and I literally did this today. What is going to stay? What is going to go? Maybe you need to do that in your life because something new seems to be coming in. Well, in order to make room for the new, you got to get rid of the old. You got to prepare for that. Right? So maybe when's the last time you did a cleaning in your reality? Maybe you need to do a mental cleaning in your reality. Like, what are you thinking about on the daily? Someone had mentioned earlier, my simulation sucks. Well, that kind of, that's just one statement. I'm sure you don't think that way all the time, but all of you here, primarily, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts going through your mind? Are they negative? Are they positive? Are you complaining? Are you bitching? Or are you grateful? And that is within the mind of, like, I'm talking about doing it from an authoritative position here. This is not using emotions. It's using logic and discernment to create a brand new reality for yourself through this magic wand that will give you your happy home, your harmony, your bliss. And it's paired, the Queen of Swords comes in. So there's a lot of critical thinking that should get done for you and your reality. I mean, we could say this is a collective conscious reading, but if I'd individualize this and I tell every single one of you, the message here for you is that's the message, is that this is a time for you to really use critical thinking and logic in your life, figure out what's making you decay faster in your life. What are you eating? What are you drinking? Is it making you decay faster? Or is it okay? Like, is it slowed down? A lot of you eat a lot of foods that make you decay faster. Are you acid or alkaline? You know, a good habit to get into, I've told this to the audience many times, every morning when I wake up, I have a whole liter of water before I eat any food. I go hours before I even eat solid food, but I wake up, I get a glass, I squeeze a whole lemon with a teaspoon of baking soda, and I pour water and I stir that up and I drink it. Why? Because it alkalizes my body. And the body thrives on slightly alkaline. Most people are acidic. So this is I'm telling you that, like, from physicalness, you can do that, right? Maybe just changing up your physicalness, but this is asking you to use an authoritative position. The energy coming in is very authoritative without using emotions here. This is using logic and discernment to create a brand new reality with the magic wand, purposefully, consciously, to create your rainbow bridge. So if you don't have this, if you're saying my life sucks, how do you get here? Well, it may just start of you cutting out. This is the cutter. She's the cutter, man. The queen that cuts. It is time to cut. And then the card that follows that is the card of analyzation. Like, I mean, you could even just put them in front of each other like that. Analyzing what no longer serves your greater good and then cutting it with the queen. Analyzing your life. And maybe, just maybe, after you clean your shit up, you'll have another message come in. You'll have a new opportunity come in that cup right there. You'll feel like you're on top of the world, and you'll be able to have all your wishes, hopes, and dreams being fulfilled. I mean, yes, it does equal Pandora's box, and you're in Pandora's box. We're in that. So it's inevitable. It's unavoidable. But that doesn't mean you can't do some kind of detox from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective. A lot of people talk about doing these detoxes, fasting and doing this. And when's the last time you did a mental fast? Or at least something where you're consciously aware of your thoughts. And you have to, you know, folks, you got to tune out of. That's why I'm a big proponent of not watching the mainstream, because when you watch the mainstream, it's influencing your thoughts, scripted or not. So if you're willing to cut out, which is what this queen's for, if you're willing to cut out the riffraff in your life, the things that cause you to be distracted, then you have the ability to see what you need to get rid of, and then you'll have new opportunities come in that will provide you your wish fulfillment. That's kind of the overall message here after I've looked at it. And it will resonate with you, some of you will not, but I think the overall message can be utilized for each and every single one of you here, is that if you can come from a place of non-judgment, non-resentment, non-anger, and come from that authoritative, like I said, a judge. Imagine you're the judge in the courtroom and you have to give a verdict on the plaintiff or defendant, and you got this one's crying, this one's getting angry and all emotional. How do you make the correct verdict? Well, the simple answer is you don't get emotionally involved with either the plaintiff or defendant. You weigh out the facts. So this is you being the judge in your life here and weighing out your life. How do you get homeostasis? That's lukewarm, neutrality. How do you get to that position? Well, once you figure that out through the analyzation, sweeping all up everything into your life, like I said, maybe you need to go clean out your bedroom. Maybe you need to go in your closet and if you got shit piled up in corners in your house, man, that the air can't move. The waves don't move, man. They get battered. Those things in your house, all those things you keep, the piles here and the piles there, those things are causing resistance in your home. So the chi doesn't move. So the whole thing is simplicity. And what you'll be rewarded with is perhaps something new coming in. Now, again, this could be collectively for the collective, right? But I forget the collective. I'm talking from an individual basis here. The final card, and yeah, there is an overlay of the 379. That's the total amount of cards. They add up to 379. That's the 75th prime number. That is directly tied to Lucifer and the numerology of Lucifer. But you got to know what Lucifer means, and Lucifer is tied to this reality, and it's the light game. You're in the light game, and you have to play it. You can back off and be somebody who doesn't really want to play, but you still got to get out there and do something. You're not just going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs. So these are activities to consider with this reading here for all of you. I think that's the message. Is that maybe you need to go through and analyze your life right now and prepare for a better life. So if that message resonated with you, it was for you. If it didn't resonate with you, if you feel like this is something that wasn't for you, it's not always going to be 100%. It never will. Maybe my message is not coming through, but I don't think it's designed to come through for everybody. Maybe you're distracted right now. Maybe the next door neighbor the dogs are barking and you can't focus and you're just irritated right now. Maybe you need to focus on not getting irritated. I don't know. But it's a tall order to live a life of neutrality. I will tell you that. It's a tall order. There's a lot of cutting that needs to get done. And a lot of you don't want to do that. And I'm not saying it's wrong if you don't. And I'm basing that on what I'm being told are the requisites. And I can't say it's 100% it's not bulletproof. I would never say that. But this is a very general message, but it's a very direct message. I mean, it's completely in line with what I did today. I made room. I made room for something else in my reality. And sometimes it's painful when you do that cutting. She's a cutter, man. And this is an analyzer. You have the cutter and the analyzer in the same card spread here. But we got some beauty here, and there's abracadabra. So if you're willing, I think there needs to be some cutting, some of you. Looking in your life, maybe if you're hanging on to a relationship that's just at the tail end and you know it's inevitable, maybe you just need to pull the plug, make that phone call and pull the plug and bear through it. You know, maybe you need to cut off some friends in your life that are just there. And it's not a bad thing. Stop. It really, maybe we need to stop using these adjectives. Like, oh, it's a bad thing. They're not going to like me. I'm going to piss them off. Listen, man, you got one shot at this life. That's all we know of. You got one shot at this. This is not a practice run. As far as we know it, this is it, man. This is it. Predestination, recycled. Folks, live out your life like you're on a permanent audition. This is not a test run. Live out your life like that. Like you're the only thing that matters. Do you realize your happiness is the only thing that matters? If you're not happy, if you're like having to complain and bitch about life, what's causing you to bitch and complain? Find the origin of that and then cut it out of your life. If I were to do if I get to come to your hometown when I start doing these tours, right? I want you showing up like you're on cloud 9. That's how I'm going to show up. I don't want you come in to show up and I get to see like a C or a B. I want the A version of you. I want the grade A. How do you get to a position of being grade A in your life? Showing up that way every day. How do you get that way? Well, there has to be cutting involved. You got to trim. And you got to be, I'm telling you folks, you got to be like this king. This king has no problem cutting out things that don't make it happy. It doesn't have any problem given the verdict, because I'm not going to prison, you are. Here's your sentence. It has no problem because it doesn't use emotions when it makes decisions. A lot of you use your emotions when you make your decisions because you feel like, oh, I'm going to hurt their feelings, or I'm going to piss that person off, or, oh, well, I depend on that person and they're going to cut me off. They're not going to give me money anymore. So you're just going to be miserable, and you're not, and your opportunity is waiting, but you got to make that cut, snippy snip. You got to make that decision. You got to be courageous enough to do that. Folks, you only get one shot at this life, so we know, as far as we know. Scripted, recycled or not, many of you need to start looking at your life and like, are you waking up happy? Are you waking up fulfilled? And if you're not, then you need to find the origin of what's causing you not waking up that way. And sometimes it involves very deep things to do. Sometimes you have to go to really big measures. But what you will do is cause a disruption. You'll cause a disruption. And when it settles down, you'll start to have that clarity. And what this is saying is you may even have that rainbow bridge. But some of you don't have the rainbow bridge because what's standing in your way is complete fear. You're afraid to cut friendships. You're afraid to cut relationships off. You're afraid to cut out a habit in your life. And I get it. We all have this. But when you're courageous enough, and the message here I think is pretty crystal clear. The reward, you only get that if you're willing to cut and make change. Some of you, it may be a very small thing. Some of you, it will be a very big thing. But remember, man, I'm not going to make you happy. You're not going to make me happy. Only you can make yourself happy. Not your partner. Your partner, when you're with somebody, they're supposed to compliment you, not provide you happiness. They compliment you. You got to wake up happy. You got to wake up satisfied. So that's the message what I got for all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that helps. I hope that helps all of you. All right. So big shout out to the moderators, Pam and Steven. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, both of you, for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for joining in tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. Yeah, I mean, Vicky says, I love that it's just one shot. I mean, folks, if you wake up tomorrow and that's what you're given, you wake up with this newfound sense of purpose that like, holy shit, this is my only shot at this. Some of you don't behave that way. You think you have all these second chances and you don't have 9 lives, man. You know, as far as we know, this is it. So you might as well go do whatever it is that makes you happy and go do it. No matter if you piss somebody off, that's on the, hey, you know what? I'm not responsible for you getting pissed off. You're not responsible for someone's reactions, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to let you know that. You may make a decision. You may make a decision that they're going to get a reaction off of, but you're not responsible for their reactions. And anybody that says you made me feel a certain way, they're full of shit. That's impossible. It is not possible for someone to make you feel a certain way. You got to do it. And likewise, you got to make the decisions here. You got scripted or not. You live your life like this is the only shot you got left. And I'm telling you, when you snippy snip, when you cut, there has to be something to move into its place. Has to be. To fill the void. You just may not see it. But you open yourself up. You know, it's like I'm a huge fan of Bob Proctor. So I'm influenced by Bob Proctor and his words. He was a great man from what I knew of him and studying him. And I learned a lot from his Born Rich seminar. A lot of the things that I've said that I say are inspired by him, and then he got inspired by somebody else. So it's just regurgitation. But he had said, like, that was kind of the things that I learned from him is we don't know what's beyond this reality. We can do the theoretical positions and philosophize and talk about, and I do talk about these, like we get recycled back in, reincarnation. Yeah, but what about the remaining rest of your life? Are you going to do it really pissed off and unhappy? Or are you going to cut out that bullshit of the people that are and the things that are making you unhappy and go live out the rest of your life on cloud nine and just freaking go out with a bang? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I got for you. I hope it helps some of you. Well, that's what I got. So, with that in mind, let me see what I want to play here to end this. There we'll play some. This is Five Finger Death Punch. This is a cover by Eric, and it's called "Wash It All Away." A very fitting song for this tarot reading. Let's talk occult. I know we covered a lot of different subjects. Probably went off the occult matter, but anyway, this song right here is you're just sick of it all. You're tired of it all. Won't somebody just wash it all away? That somebody is you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for joining in. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later.